There we go. Sorry about that. Welcome to my photography shopping live stream. I'm sorry for the late start. I'm having some technical difficulties, but everything seems to be working now. It's just I have to do things a little bit more manual today because my loop deck and something else is not working right. But anyhow, good to see you, Jeff and Paul. Um, Hopefully everything is good now, but what we do here is we go online together and look for some deals on Amazon and other places. And FYI, I am an affiliate for Amazon, so I will earn a commission if you use any of the links that I provide here. Uh, and also it's an open Q&A, so if you have any questions, if you're looking for anything, I can help you shop for something and give you some ideas. But I did find a lot of good deals. I try to cherry pick a few ahead of time, and I'll talk about that. Some of them are kind of interesting, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, let me just adjust this one other window. And let's see, I think this is the screen I want. Yeah, very good. And I think it looks like my little webcam window's not working, but let me try and fix that real quick. No. That's almost it. It's weird. I don't touch anything week to week, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't want to Okay, close enough. All right, so let's uh this first thing I want to look at is this anti-reflective lens hood. This is basically a giant lens hood, and you push this up against the glass to reduce reflection. So if you're shooting through a window or through glass, uh, you know, which can happen time to time, this will help reduce the reflections that you get. And this is a really good deal. You know, this thing, if you look at the price history, uh, you know, it doesn't show it's on sale necessarily, but you can see this thing was about $4 or $5 higher. So now there's a coupon down here as well, give you another dollar off. And supposedly it has filter threads, so it'll fit multiple different types of ring sizes between 53 and 72 millimeters. Or you can just hold it in front of the camera while you get a shot. That works just as easily because it's not something you're going to carry around or leave on your camera all the time. You just want to get one quick shot usually. So I really like this. This was, like I said, from a question from earlier. So I thought I'd address that. And another item here, it's $5 for a memory card reader. But this one you can also just plug directly into your phone. So this is great for transferring images to and from your phone. So if you take pictures with your phone, you can transfer them to an SD card to put onto your computer later, or you can take images you took with your camera and upload them to your phone. And I know a couple of people that do that quite a bit. They like to take pictures with their phone, a lot of times in JPEG, and just upload them to their phone quickly so they can share them without having to go through the app. And this is a great way to do that. They claim this is a UHS-2 compatible or SD card version 4, or I shouldn't say version 4, but 4.0 spec. So it should be very fast. And the few reviews that they had on this, someone tested it and they did get pretty decent speeds. So this is for your regular SD cards and your micro SDs. And I like that it comes with a USB-C and USB-A adapter. And $5 is a great deal. It's hard to find, you know, card readers. There's a lot of card readers that you can get for under $10, but this one, being a UHS-2 and that some users have reviewed it to be very fast, this looks like a good deal. Okay, now this one, I'm not saying you should buy this camera for its camera capabilities. I don't have a lot of high expectations of the camera itself, but what's interesting is it comes with a CCTV lens, and it's a zoom between 5 to 50 at f1.4. And you know, if you were to try to buy this lens separately, you would pay more than $20. So I think this is an interesting sort of DIY vintage lens. So some of you already have a C mount to Micro Four Thirds mount, or C mount to APS-C. You can use this lens on C mount, or I'm sorry, on Micro Four Thirds and APS-C cameras, even full frame, but you'll get some pretty heavy vignetting. But this lens was designed for a much, much smaller sensor, you know, like a 1/2 or 1/2.3, sometimes 1/4, you know, 4. I mean, very, very small sensors. So what this does for you is it gives you a really kind of vintage look to your images. You know, because as you go towards the outer parts of the image circle that this lens creates, you start to see all of the defects, or what some people like to call character, of the lens. So I don't know, I was thinking about getting this. This looks like it might be kind of fun to tinker with and use the lens on my Micro Four Thirds cameras, because I do have some CCTV lenses already that really give great bokeh, but this one here has a zoom on it, and it's very fast at 1.4. So I guarantee the images are going to be very soft, wide open at f4. But you can stop the lens down, and I found them to be actually pretty sharp. in general, when we're talking about CCTV lenses. So, if you want to play around with your camera and try some different looks with your, more vintage looks, I think this would be a great way to go. Okay, and then if you have an OM5 or an EM5 Mark III, the EM5 Mark III and the OM5 Mark I, you can get a half leather case. It's not real leather, but you can get a half leather case with a metal bottom for $11. That's hard to beat. I have it here in green and pink as well, if you want to do that. But, a nice khaki color. And, when you look at the bottom here, the bottom metal plate is great for protecting the bottom of the camera and giving it a more solid feel. So I like this grip for $11. I think it's a great deal. And I have not come across this kind of deal in a long, long time. I have a very similar version of this tripod under a different name that I paid. I think it was like $17 for it, probably more than 2 years ago. But now it's back for $20. And, I think, and it's pretty well made. It's, it's an aluminum tripod, so it's relatively lightweight for what it is, and has a good height at 63 inches with the center column extended. And it has a good ball head on it, all metal ball head. If you don't have a tripod, or you want to have a backup tripod that you keep in your car in case you forget to bring your good one, then this is a great choice. For anybody starting in photography, I recommend a tripod. No matter what your camera is, tripods are basically a photographer's essential accessory. And I just watched this morning the Petapixel essential or accessory, photographic accessory rankings, and they didn't even touch on tripods. And I think the reason being is because this is definitely S tier. This is like, you have to get a tripod. And if you're on a tight budget, you can't beat $20 for a tripod. And I found a couple more. Now, these are not budget tripods, but this is a really good deal for super lightweight carbon fiber and very, very portable, but it has a decent height at 50 inches. So this will come up to, for me, it'll come up to about my chest level, and then you put the camera on top. You're going to be about here when you're standing. But all the same, this is a it's a Sirui. They make excellent tripods. They're this carbon fiber one for $100. This is a really good deal, even though it doesn't show it's on sale or there's any kind of coupon. If you look at the price history and we go to 1 year, you can see this thing sold for as high as $200 at one point. And for a long time, it was in this $170 range, plus or minus. So this is the lowest price this tripod has been in a long, long time, if ever. So if you're looking for a and it weighs 1.34 kilos, so it's very lightweight, very compact because there's no center column, so the legs close up nice and tight. So it's very easy to take with you in your backpack or put underneath your sling bag, things like that. I have a very similar quick release plate from Sirui, and it's very easy to use. Instead of turning a knob, you just flip this lever and the camera comes right out. So I like the Arca Swiss clamp that it comes with, and then it comes with a really nice bag. Sirui makes really nice cases for their tripods. Okay, and then this one, I recommended, I think, this same tripod a week or two ago, and they have dropped the price again. Now this one here, actually this is not the same tripod, my mistake. This one here is a little more compact than the one I had before. The one I showed before had a much thicker tube diameter. I can't remember the diameter size. This one has the more standard, like 26 millimeter diameter tubes or 1-inch diameter tubes. It can also be converted into a monopod. You're not going to, and this is just the sticks, you don't get the ball head with it, but you're not going to find a better deal for carbon fiber sticks of this quality at this price point. And again, if we, and it doesn't say that it's on sale, there's maybe a 10% coupon here you can try. But if you look at the 1-year history, up until this month, this thing sold for $157. So right now, basically, it's half price. They could jump the price back up to $157 any day. But right now it's $77, and this is a really, really good deal for this carbon fiber, because you can buy a ball head for another, you know, $30 or $40, you know, for a decent one, $50 or $60 for a little higher end, and you got a carbon fiber tripod for like 120 bucks or less. So I think, you know, this is an amazing deal here. And I like I said, the center column is there's no center column. You can attach one on the top, so it comes with the extension carbon fiber tube. But again, this compacts down very nice and tight, and that's my preferred style of tripod. Okay, and then here's another strap. It doesn't say it's on sale, but this is a pretty good deal. Supposedly it's a real leather strap, so I'll take their word for it there. You know, with brass riveting and things. But you know, if you like this style of dual camera strap, these are really handy. It makes it really easy to carry 2 cameras, and it's only $14. So if you're looking for a dual camera strap, and it has a safety strap on top of that, so that if for whatever reason that the main lock comes loose, you know, the little the carabiner, then you have a safety strap as well that you hook into the side of your camera. So it's very secure. It's leather. It, you know, it's really, really handy. I've used dual camera straps in the past, and I haven't had it, you know, when I do events and things, because a lot of times you don't have time to swap lenses, so I carry cameras with different lenses, and then I have quick access to get the shot. And that's my most typical use case, but out in the field, I don't use these quite as much. I tend to go out with just one camera when I go out. But this is a great deal for $14. And filters, now this the 72 millimeter set is on sale right now. They're all on some sort of deal. But if you have a 72 millimeter filter ring on your camera and you need an ND filter set, this is a great deal. $12, and you get 3 72 millimeter solid ND filters. And of course you can stack these on top of each other so that you can get whatever that adds up to in terms of stops. But you know, it's best to try to use one at a time. When you start stacking, you might start to get some reflections, depending on what you're shooting, you know, particularly if you're shooting into the sun. But for most use cases with a lens hood, you'll be fine. Maybe even use that lens hood that I showed earlier, right? That ginormous one. Lens hoods, ND filters, polarizers. These things are all essential accessories for every photographer. And for $12, you get the case, microfiber cloth, and 3 filters. That is a killer deal. I don't see this deal very often. And they're also got some sort of bonus here. It says free bonus when you buy 1 select items. I don't know what the free bonus is. Sometimes I don't know, it's probably a microfiber cloth or something. I don't know. But make sure you take advantage of that. I think this filter set, this one is in a 55 millimeter filter ring. Basically, you get a circular polarizer and a ND filter. The UV filters I never use, but you get a 9-stop or an ND9 uh, solid ND filter and a circular polarizer. So these things, again, these are things, and it comes with a case. 55 millimeter is not quite as common on a lot of modern lenses, but if you have some lenses in this filter ring, this is a really good deal for $4.22. You can't beat that. The only other the one thing you got to look out for is this, though. It's going to cost you $10 for 3 because there's a $5.77 delivery. Sorry, I missed that. Still not bad for $10, but yeah, maybe I'll take that off. This has the same thing, but this is a Tiffin filter. Okay, there is a $5.79, so yeah, basically you're going to pay $10 for this to get it delivered. I really like these sort of artsy filters. This gives a 6-point star effect. I don't know if they have any sample images. No. Yeah, here's a sample from somebody that reviewed it. But any specular or bright light point source, it's going to create this 6-point star. This is not the best example, but that's one. Let's see if this one's any better. Not really. These are terrible examples. I'd show you one of mine, but it would be a little hard to find right now. But I really enjoy these just for fun. If you guys watch my live streams, I talk about filters time to time and show you some samples from that. I may have it on my Flickr page, the one that I did. Did I put filter? Let me see if I made a. I may have. Yeah, I did make a folder for this. Here's one that I did. This is a 6-point star filter. And I just love what it did with the Christmas lights up here and all the little speculars. Like I said, it's a creative choice, but I like it. And for $10, and it's a quality filter made by Tiffin. See, sometimes I combine them. Like I combined a couple of filters here, kaleidoscope with a star filter, just for fun. But basically $10, and 58 millimeter is a lot more common. This will fit a lot of lenses, particularly in Micro Four Thirds, the 12 to 45 f4 Pro, the 40 to 150 kit lens f4 to 5.6, and many others. And you can see if you try to buy it in any other size, it's a lot more expensive. So $10 for a 6-point star filter, that's a good deal. Here's another Tiffin filter on an amazing deal. Apparently I bought a 49 millimeter one. Gosh, my God, it's keeping records back to 2013. But that's roughly when I started doing photography, was in 2013. And polarizer was obviously one of the first filters I ever bought. And this is a giant one, a 95 millimeter ring size. If you don't need, not too many lenses are going to be 95 millimeters in the Micro Four Thirds, even APS-C. Mostly this is going to be full frame lenses, typically very fast lenses like f1.4s, f1.2s, things like that. But they all need, you can always use a polarizer regardless of what lens you decide to land on. If you add a polarizer, this greatly reduces reflections, adds a lot more contrast to the scene, and punchier colors, in my opinion. So, this is kind of an oddball for me, for my shopping stream in general, but 95 millimeter filter thread, that's pretty big, but you can't beat this price for a Tiffin branded circular polarizer. And let's see, here's a generic one, 58 millimeter polarizer, free delivery, and $8.49. So if you want to get just the filter and you don't need anything else, because you remember we looked at the one branded by Neewer that had 3 filters. It had an ND and a circular polarizer. I'm sorry, it had 3 ND filters. That was $11. You can get that together with this. So you'll have the circular polarizer, and then you have 3 solid ND filters for about 20 bucks. Okay? And a case. So this is a really good deal. Some of the other sizes are only like $1 more. So if you want a 62 millimeter, $8.99. You know, this will fit like the 12 to 40 f2.8. 62 millimeters is very common. The 46 millimeter, this will be like for the prime lenses. So this is a really good deal for a single filter. You know, if you're going to buy them one at a time, or you want to add a filter, a circular polarizer to a new lens you just got or to an older lens, these are all pretty decent pricing here, especially from between 58 and 62. Now here's a variable ND filter for 10 bucks. We're back to the 72 millimeter filter ring. And these variable ND filters, they do a good job, and a lot of videographers use these. This is also great for photographers. This is a good range between 1 and 5 stops. So you can use this for flash photography, portrait photography. The only caveat to these variable ND filters at this price point is there's a little bit of a color shift. So you want to make sure you're able to correct the white balance either on site using a gray card or a white balance card, or you can do it in post-processing the same way. Just use the eyedropper onto a white card and you can adjust for the white balance. So that's the only extra step you have to do with this kind of filter. But sometimes you get pretty decent shots without doing any white balance adjustment. But typically I found I've always had to do a little bit when I use these low-end variable ND filters. And it's not because it's low quality. You know, you could spend a lot more and get a true color variable ND filter. And that's what I would recommend if I could find a good deal on one. I just couldn't find any good deals on one today. But they typically are going to be $30, $40. The higher end ones are going to be $90 to $100 for a true color version. But for 10 bucks, you can't beat this. And all you have to do, like I said, if you're on a tight budget, you can get this one. It's a tough call between this and the previous set that we looked at that had the 3 solid ND filters, because that would effectively be more functional than this, but not as easy to use because you have to swap filters if you want to change the density. But the solid ND filters don't have any color shift. This one will, just because of the nature of the way light has the way sorry. I just got a notification for some reason. Okay, excuse me 1 second, I'm sorry. Oh, that was weird. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. You can still see me here. I saw what I meant to do, but okay. But 10 bucks, okay? I use these, I've switched mostly to using solid ND filters, but certainly for 10 bucks, these are pretty handy to have as well for long exposure and flash photography. And they also have a slight polarizing effect as well. Even though it's not a dedicated polarizer, you will also get better contrast when you use a variable ND filter. And like I was saying, oh, this is not on sale anymore. Here's another set. This one's in the 58 millimeter ring size. This is probably the same set as the one we looked at before that was like $2 less, but this one is in stock and ready to go. If looking at it, I get free Prime delivery overnight with this one for $12. This looks like a great little set. Circular polarizer and a solid ND filter, UV filter. You know, I don't want to discard them completely, but there are some there's some very rare situations that you might want to use one when you want to protect your front lens element from like salty water spray or dust and things like that when you're out in the field. There are some situations you may want to consider a UV filter, but you don't need a UV filter for any image quality reasons. You're not going to see any difference in the quality of your image. It just adds a little bit of layer of protection for your front element in those times that you're in more extreme situations. Yeah, CPL and ND8, these two filters plus a case, $12. You know, good filter ring size. They have some other sizes here, you know, like $1 more, 55 or 67. 62, I wouldn't pay 20 bucks or, you know, this 1949. And it's not free delivery. This one is, yeah, it is free delivery, but it's, you know, it's $7 more. So I would kind of stick with this size if you need a set. And this is a two filter. You get two filters. You get a black mist filter and a circular polarizer. So these are really good at reducing reflections and then softening highlights, like just giving a little bit of a glow with the black mist, but without losing contrast. So this would be really good for some like waterfall type stuff, where you want a more surreal look to your landscape images. You can also use it to some portraits to reduce shine and reflection on people's faces. And when there is a little bit of a highlight, it'll be softened with a little bit of a glow. So this kind of a nice set, gives you a nice effect. Things that are really difficult to do in post-processing, but when you throw a filter on, it's pretty straightforward. This is K&F's Nano X filter set. So this is their highest end glass. So it's going to be minimal reflectivity, minimal light loss, and very high quality build, scratch resistant, all of that good stuff. So this is kind of a high-end filter, but if you're into that type of photography, you know, if you do it, particularly if you do it professionally, this is a really good deal. $68 for this set. Okay, and then just some tools here, some step rings, you know, to attach different filter sizes to your lenses. You know, step up and step down. So if your filter is too big for the lens you have, you step it down. If it's too small, you step it up. And these help you to do that. You know, I wouldn't use these on super wide angle lenses, say, you know, like a 12 millimeter in micro four thirds or 24 millimeters on full frame, because you can start to get some vignetting in the corners, because it does push the filter away from the lens, you know, just by a few millimeters. But there's very tight tolerances on modern lenses now that it happens. So but I've used these time to time to experiment with different filters that I have for certain lenses but not for others. And then eventually, if it worked out, I would buy the right size filter for the lens that I want to use it on. And then filter wrenches, very, very handy for taking filters on and off, particularly lenses that are all metal, where they have a metal ring. Those things can be sometimes really hard to pull off or unscrew your filters from. So the plastic lenses I haven't, you know, that have plastic filter threads, I don't run into that very often, but for my more vintage lenses that have metal rings, it's really handy to have a filter wrench set. And by the way, this makes a great gift for any photographer, because a lot of photographers don't have these, right? And now we're kind of getting into some of the stuff from last week that's still on sale. I'm just going to touch on them briefly. You know, charging station, this is the very best one. I paid more than that for mine, and I bought a couple of these. The Godox V480, awesome flash. I highly recommend this one. It's a little smaller than a full-size flash, but not quite as small as, you know, your mini flashes, like a TT350. But in turn, you get a much higher power output in a compact size. And this flash rarely goes on sale, but it's still on sale at this point for $149. Here's a Fujifilm full-size flash from Neewer, and this is an excellent flash for $110. Lithium-ion battery, 75-watt output, and touchscreen, all this great stuff. LED modeling lamp. That's hard to beat for 110 bucks. You know, I can highly recommend any of these at these price points. And then of course light stands, modifiers, things like that. And then the last thing I want to touch on is actually not the last thing. Memory cards I've touched on before. The best deal here out of all of these, this is a pretty good deal. A pair of 128s for $28.99. Because you can see if you want to buy a brand name, it's going to cost you double, right? But this one here, it's getting pretty good reviews, 548 reviews at 4.4 stars, $28.49 for a pair. These are V30s, so they're going to be not going to be as fast as a V60, but you know, if you're not a wildlife photographer and hitting your buffer and running high-speed continuous shutter all the time, these are going to be perfectly fine. You know, for your street photography, portrait photography, just about landscape, just about any other kind of photography besides, you know, birds in flight. This is all you need. You can get a set here for $28. And I guarantee once these are gone, they're going to come back at a higher price, like a lot of these cards have. And then this is still the best deal for a memory card. I bought a couple of these. I bought the one that I bought. I've run twice now on Bird in Flight. You know, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, because mine just came in. I used it on Saturday and Sunday with no issues at all. They're performing just as well as my brand name SD cards that I paid, you know, well, I didn't pay a lot more for them because I bought them last year. But if I were to try to buy these again in the same brand, they're going for like 120 bucks. So this is really, really good deal. And I guarantee once these are gone, they're gone. Just ignore this only 18 left in stock. They've been saying that all week. And I know people have been buying them. So I don't know how this number is generated, but take it with a grain of salt. But don't, you know, this price, I wouldn't pass up on this deal because memory prices are not going to go down for probably at least another year, in my opinion. So I would pick up a set like I did personally. And these are V60 cards, okay? I can confirm they are V60. They are performing just like a V60 card. I'm getting very fast clearance on my buffers. So if you're a birds in flight photographer, pick up a couple of these and you'll see a dramatic improvement in your buffering performance on your camera. And there's some other deals here. You can kind of just do the math on these if it makes sense for you. But these are all pretty decent deals for what they are. But I just wanted to point out this one here for the V30s, the Fanzang, I don't know how to pronounce that. And then this Digiera. These two are really good deals. Now, this bag was on sale for $10, but now it's back to $13, but it's still an excellent deal. I paid like $25 or something for mine, and I thought I got a good deal. It's half that price now. This is another one for about the same price. This recently went on sale, I believe. But it's about the same size. It's just a little different style. But it looks to be well made. Nice little sling bag. has really, handy dividers there that are layered. If you look right here, how you can layer a lens on top of another on the one divider. I really like that design. And it's a decent size, so you'll be able to hold, plenty of stuff in here. And it has, all the same features, plenty of pockets and zippers, straps. Very, very good bag. For $13, basically $14, this is a really good bag. And then this backpack is new since last week. This backpack for $34 is not bad. Now they say 40 liter. This bag it's because it's very deep. So if you need a deeper bag, if you look at the measurements, they have it here. Basically, it's 7 inches deep. It's 8 inches deep. Okay, 8 inches deep by 18 inches by 14 wide. And it has a separate compartment in the front for your laptop. So it's going to hold a lot of stuff, and it comes with where hold on. This is not the one I was looking at earlier. The one I looked at earlier had all the camera dividers for it. Oh, here it is. This set right here. So it has, camera dividers, $33.98. I linked to the wrong one. I was looking at this one that had like a 4-piece set separately. That's for more traveling with your luggage. But this is a camera bag, because they include the dividers. It's not bad for $34 basically. You get a pretty good size backpack that holds a lot of stuff. Okay, and then everything else have been on my I've talked about these in my previous streams. I'll be happy to talk about them if you have any questions about any of this stuff. But these are all really good deals, good products, or very useful products for every photographer. But these are a little bit more specific to camera, the camera you're using basically. So you have to make that decision with a little bit more, precision, right? Okay, so let me go to the chat section. So I need to go here. All right. Okay, so let me see if this chat thing is working. And Paul says, any experience with thermal imaging scopes? I have owls living near me, but I'm struggling to find them in the trees. No, I've never used one. It's funny though, I did see they have these thermal imaging devices that you attach to your phone, then you just use your phone, right, as a screen, and then the thermal imaging camera connects to the phone. Those were a little bit pricey, but let me just take a quick look here. Yeah, that one's $800. Uh, this one. Then there's the dedicated handheld ones. I'll pull that up. And then one other one. Okay, where's my button? All right, so here's kind of a budget option. It has a relatively low resolution screen. But I don't see, yeah, and it has a little camera on the back, it looks like. Ghost hunting. Field of view 50, so it has a camera. So this is one way to go, right? It's something like this. It's kind of a budget option because it looks like kind of a kit. It doesn't look like a mass-produced type product. And then there's this one here. This one plugs into the older style, Lightning type style, I think Apple. And then you just use your phone as a screen instead. This is a much more budget option way to go. Something like this for 119. And then we have, you know, dedicated handheld ones, right? Like this one. It's also a multimeter on top of that, so it's kind of a multi-use tool. And then this other one here, this one's more for Android, right? Because and iPhones that have the USB-C port. So you can kind of go with all of these at its similar price points. Again, you know, you're just using your camera. And my sister had one, and it's pretty neat. But I don't know how it would work in like real life, like out in the woods to see owls or whatever. But that would be kind of interesting. I couldn't tell you firsthand, but that's a interesting idea. I never thought of using that like Predator, right? Okay. And the Great Vanzini is here. Says, I think I paid over 200 for a tripod back in the 70s. Yep. I know back in 2013, I think I paid $160 for my tripod. I don't use it anymore, but I still have it. It's an old MePhoto Tripper, I think it was called. And good morning, Heather. And she says, didn't that Tiffin say CMM versus M? I did. I don't know why. I'm sure they meant millimeters, right? Because there's no centimillimeter. That would be a yard, wouldn't? I don't know. I'm sure they meant millimeters. And totally fractured UV filter may have saved my lens last time. Wow. That's good. Wish you could stack filters, not be limited to one filter at a time. You can stack filters. I do it all the time. Solid ND filters I stack ND filters together with polarizers, and I've stacked multiple creative filters together, like the star filter and vortex filters. So you just have to experiment, that's all. And Eric is here, good to see you. And I always try to buy either 280 or 300s. Yep. So though, you know, they have V60 and V60 cars that I think claim up to 280, but typically the V90 cars are 280 to 300, and some of the V60s. Uh, in practice, uh, I didn't really see any difference when you get into a V60 card. Like my Digi Eras were rated for. Let me pull up my Digi Era card because I can tell you exactly. Oh, the Digi Era card. God, I wish my button thing was working. Um, this one here is rated for 280, and it performed just as well as my Kingston 128 gig card, which is rated for also 280. And Kingston is a name brand, when it comes to memory products. The thermal imaging devices all seem quite expensive. Yeah, they do, aren't they? But I guess, $100 is not terrible, 120. And Heather says, I bought one of those rubber lens hoods recently. Love the idea of only carrying one hood. Haven't really used it yet. Recommended by a pro. I met at the zoo. Oh, a zoo is a great example because a lot of times the animals are behind glass and you can use that hood to minimize the reflections, right? And Paul says, it's just really frustrating that Merlin app is telling me there are owls, but I can't find them. Oh, okay. And Hesse's here. Good to see you. So, anywho, keep in mind that Amazon Prime Day is coming. I think June 23rd. So we got a little time. But the kind of deals you're seeing that I showed today, a lot of them, when it comes on Prime Day, they're not going to be any better, in my opinion. Time will tell. But these deals that I try to find for you every week are basically Prime Day deals. They're really good deals to begin with, or good products at a good price. And the big difference with Prime Day is that the discounts are spread in a much wider, across much wider range of products. So if, like the way we do it week to week, we're trying to find that one thing that's at a really good deal this week. On Prime Day, almost everything's at a good deal, is the best way to put it. So you don't have to wait. You can get it on Prime Day. So I'm going to be doing a Prime Day live stream. But yeah, the deals today, if it happens to fall, like filters is a good example. They go on and off sale all the time. Less so this year than last year. Last year I was able to find filter deals like every week. This year it's a little harder to find. It might go a couple, 2-3 weeks, maybe longer before I find a good deal on a filter set. Like the couple that I found today were really good deals. But on Prime Day, there'll probably be a pretty good range of filters on sale, is my guess. So if you didn't see the filter you were looking for today, I bet Prime Day you'll see it, right? And you can get it then. And other things, right? I think like I said, a lot of things go on sale Prime Day, so we'll see. And can I give my okay? So JT's asking about my opinion on the 100-300. I haven't heard anything bad about it. I've seen side-by-side tests online against the 75-300 from Olympus, and basically they were the same. And since I highly recommend the 75-300 at the price point, that would by extension apply to the Lumix 100-300 for all intents and purposes, as to also be excellent value for the money. So if you're like in the $400 or $500 range on the 100-300, let me just take a quick look at it real quick. Yeah, right now it's on sale for $547. And if you have a Panasonic camera, I think 547, not bad. Not bad. So I'll add this to my deal page if you want to check it out there directly. It's frustrating I can't just hot swap pages here, but um, this is the lens you're talking about, I assume. 100 to 300 has optical image stabilization built in, so it's ideal for Panasonic cameras. That way you get that image stabilization synchronization. It's also compatible with the older Panasonic depth from defocus, so you'll get better autofocusing performance as well when you use this on a Panasonic camera. And 30% off, or 36% off, that's a good deal. Because the 75 to 300 from Olympus right now is $500. This lens was always more expensive. And the fact that you can get it within a $50 window of the Olympus version tells me that this is a really good deal. And it's also a little bit faster at f5.6. But yeah, in terms of image quality, I haven't heard anyone say that the 75-300 is better. Everyone said this is just as good. Paul says, Rob, there's a small rig battery with USB-C charging on sale at Amazon UK. Okay, so I'm sorry, I got to switch back to. So Paul says there's a small rig battery with USB-C charging on sale. So small rig batteries, I've bought small rig batteries. In fact, let me see. So I bought a pair of small rig batteries. This is not the same one you're talking about. For my Fujifilm camera, I bought a pair with the charger. And I think I paid $30 or $35 for 2 batteries and a charger for my Fujifilm. And I can tell you they last about 80% compared to my OEM, my original Fujifilm battery. But they work otherwise. In my Fujifilm camera, I still get, I'll just put it in my camera. And it certainly hasn't, generic, I don't use any generics in my OM1 or OM3, but in my EM5 Mark III, the generic batteries, you still get the battery percentages and things like that, but in my Sony camera, I do not get battery percentages on my Sony camera. It just shows battery full until it dies, and it just goes out like a light. On this one, yeah. So this one's, so they say they're fully decoded, which means you can get the battery percentages on your screen. But small rig is no better than any of the other generic batteries, in my opinion, because they seem to be using the same battery chemistry as all the generic ones in that they don't last quite as long as the OEM batteries. So I wouldn't put any weight on when it comes to batteries and the small rig brand name, or any brand name for that matter. If you're going to buy a generic battery, I would just buy the cheapest one you can find, right? That's not like really that far out, meaning like it's brand new on Amazon. There's no reviews, right? And the battery is about the same price, about the same price as any other, because you can usually find 10 different generic brand names, including small rig, when it comes to batteries, and they're all at varying price points and different sale prices. Sometimes are much cheaper. I would pick the one that's kind of almost the cheapest but had the most reviews, and just get that one. So if the small rig one is right now is the cheapest one or a fair price as the other generics, I would go ahead and get it. It's not going to be any better or worse than other generic batteries, at least when I compare it to my Fuji. Because if I recall, I measured the number of milliamps it took to charge the generic battery versus the OEM battery. And typically it was like 20% less milliamps to charge the generic battery to full than the OEM batteries. And that was almost a direct correlation to the battery life that I was getting from this generic battery. It was really only about 80% of the OEM battery. Okay, and JT says, if I'm using them on Olympus body, would the Olympus be better or the Lumix? I have both Panasonic and OM camera. Yeah, so I would always get the brand, match the brands, right? So if you're going to get a telephoto for your OM system camera, if you're going to use your OM system primarily for telephoto work, get the OM system or Olympus branded lens. If you're going to be using your Panasonic body primarily for the telephoto use, right, then get the Lumix version. You can still use the Lumix one on the OM system cameras, but you're going to get the best performance when you match the brands up to each other. So just decide which one you're going to use more often, which camera body you're going to use more often, and then buy the brand that matches the brand of the camera body you're going to use more often. And Paul says, I have the 100-300 and 75-300, similar sharpness. Panasonic has stabilization, weather sealing. Oh, I didn't know it had weather sealing on top of that. That's why it's always cost a little more. And it comes with a hood. So there's a reason though. That's why so Paul, that makes a lot of sense, right? The 100-300 has weather sealing, stabilization, and a hood. That would explain why whenever I compared the two, the Panasonic was always more expensive. But thank you for sharing that. There's similar sharpness, and that's what I've heard over and over again over the years that people have asked me this question. And JTech says, thank you. I'll use the link from your page to get... Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. And Hiker Dude says, I bought the Fenzang 256 gig V30 card for $40 Canadian, 28 US. Seems great so far, and I can't beat the price for any other brand. Exactly, right? Thank you for sharing your experience. It was getting decent reviews and is a really good price. So I didn't see, that's why I added to my deal page. So thanks for sharing your experience on that, because that's a really smoking deal. A pair of 128s for $28. Does penny stabilized lens work on OM body? Yes, it does, but you would have to use the camera in body stabilization, which is fine at 300 millimeters. But you wouldn't be able to do the syncing like if you were to use it on a Panasonic, you would get that syncing between the optical and the in-body. So, okay. So I was just over at B&H. I was trying to see if there was a particularly good flash deal. I don't see one today. Yeah, I'm just skimming. Normally I'd be sharing the screen, but it's a pain to without my little Loupedeck, I'm having a hard time swapping. Yeah, if your Panasonic has stabilization, you'll get dual sync IS. So like I was saying, it depends which camera you think you're going to use more for telephoto use. That's the brand I would buy. And oh, that's a message for Paul. A message back to Paul. Yeah, so he just reworded it there. Okay, I think that's it. So I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I think those are the deals I wanted to share today. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you want to support the channel and get a good deal, you can use my affiliate links through that Amazon website. Just go to robtrek.com/deals. And if you support the live streams in general, you can become a member for 99 cents a month. That's also greatly appreciated, or make a donation directly. But I'll be back again this Friday for the photo editing live stream, and Sunday for my normal photo chat. And then, stay tuned for Prime Day deals. I'm going to be working hard to find the best deals there as well. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. Try to do that every day, and you'll have a good life. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.